Jean Stapleton's final interview confirms what we all suspected. Jean Stapleton was born Jean Murray Stapleton on January 19, 1923 in New York City. She was raised in a home full of performing arts. Her mother, Marie, was a professional opera singer and her father worked in advertising. From a very young age, Stapleton was surrounded by music, discipline, and artistic dedication, which laid the foundation for her lifelong love of craft rather than fame. She studied drama at the American Repertory Theater and later refined her skills at the famous Actors Studio, diving deep into method acting and classical performance techniques. Stapleton's early career unfolded on the stage where she built a reputation as a dependable, intelligent, and emotionally honest actress. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, she appeared in numerous Broadway and off-Broadway productions, earning critical respect long before mainstream audiences knew her name. Theater was her first love, and she never abandoned it, even after becoming a television star. Her performances were often praised for their restraint and emotional honesty, qualities that would later define her most famous role. Her television career began with guest appearances on anthology series and dramatic programs such as Playhouse 90, The Defenders, and Dr. Kildare. These roles showed her versatility and seriousness as an actress, but none of them hinted at the cultural impact she was about to make. That moment arrived in 1971 when she was cast as Edith Bunker on Norman Lear's groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. As Edith, Stapleton created one of the most iconic characters in television history. At first glance, Edith appeared simple-minded, soft-spoken, and submissive, a stark contrast to her loud, opinionated husband, Archie Bunker, played by Carroll O'Connor. But Stapleton filled Edith with warmth, moral clarity, and quiet strength. Through subtle gestures, pauses, and her famously gentle voice, Stapleton revealed Edith as the emotional heart of the show. She was not ignorant, but compassionate, not weak, but enduring. Stapleton was instrumental in shaping Edith into a fully realized human being rather than a cartoon character. She frequently worked behind the scenes with writers and producers to make sure that Edith was treated with dignity, even when the humor was sharp. Her portrayal earned her 3 Emmy Awards and 2 Golden Globe Awards, along with universal admiration from critics and audiences alike. More importantly, Edith became a symbol of decency and empathy during a time when American television was confronting issues such as racism, sexism, war, and generational conflict. Despite the enormous success of All in the Family, Stapleton never allowed fame to define who she was. She was notably uncomfortable with celebrity culture and often turned down interviews and public appearances. When the show ended in 1979 and later transitioned into Archie Bunker's place, Stapleton made the difficult decision to step away, believing Edith's story had been fully told. Her departure was marked by one of the most emotional episodes in television history in which Edith is killed off, leaving Archie devastated. The episode underscored Stapleton's belief that storytelling should be honest, even when it is painful. Following her departure from the series, Stapleton returned to what she loved most: theater, television films, and selective character roles. She appeared in acclaimed TV movies such as Eleanor, First Lady of the World, in which she portrayed Eleanor Roosevelt, and The People vs. Jean Harris. She also lent her voice to animated projects, including Disney's Pocahontas, showing her versatility well into later life. In the twilight of her remarkable career, Jean Stapleton continued to choose roles that reflected her warmth, depth, and quiet power as an actress. In May 2000, she made a memorable appearance on the beloved television series Touched by an Angel in the emotionally touching Mother's Day episode. Stapleton portrayed an angel named Emma, a gentle, compassionate presence sent to guide and comfort a woman named Celine, who was struggling under the emotional weight of caring for her late best friend's aging mother. With her trademark sincerity and grace, Stapleton filled the role with humanity and tenderness, reminding viewers why she had long been regarded as one of television's most soulful performers. Her performance did not rely on big gestures or spectacle. Instead, it radiated quiet understanding, empathy, and a deep sense of emotional truth, qualities that had defined her career for decades. Stapleton's final screen appearance came soon afterward in 2001 in the fact-based television movie Like Mother, Like Son, The Strange Story of Sante and Kenny Kimes. In this chilling true crime drama, she played Irene Silverman, appearing opposite Mary Tyler Moore, who took on the unsettling role of convicted criminal Sante Kimes. Though the story itself was dark and disturbing, Stapleton once again brought depth and authenticity to her character, lending gravity and emotional realism to the film. Even in her last film role, she demonstrated her ability to elevate material through nuanced performance, proving that her talent remained undiminished to the very end. Yet Stapleton's farewell to acting did not occur on a sound stage, but where her love for performance had always been strongest, the theater. Her final acting role was on stage in Horton Foote's The Carpetbagger's Children, presented at Lincoln Center in New York on March 7, 2002. The choice was fitting. Foote's work, known for its humanity, restraint, and emotional honesty, aligned perfectly with Stapleton's own artistic sensibilities. Appearing before a live audience one last time, she closed her career not with fanfare, but with the quiet dignity and emotional integrity that had always defined her work. Beyond her acting career, Jean Stapleton was deeply committed to social and political causes. She was an outspoken advocate for women's rights, civil rights, and the arts, serving on boards and supporting organizations dedicated to public broadcasting and cultural education. She believed strongly in the power of storytelling to foster understanding and empathy, values that aligned closely with the groundbreaking themes of All in the Family. For more than a quarter of a century, Jean Stapleton's personal life was anchored by a deep and enduring partnership with her husband, William Putch, a man whose devotion to the theater mirrored her own passion for the craft. The two were married in 1957, beginning a union that would last until Putch's sudden death in 1983 and would shape not only Stapleton's family life, but also the very rhythm of her professional world. Together, they built a household rooted in creativity, discipline, and love for storytelling, raising two children who would go on to forge impressive paths of their own. John Putch, who became an accomplished actor, writer, and director, and Pamela Putch, who established herself as a respected television producer. William Putch was far more than a supportive spouse. He was a tireless champion of live theater. For 3 decades, he served as the guiding force behind Totem Playhouse, a beloved summer stock theater nestled within Caledonia State Park in Fayetteville, Pennsylvania. Under his direction, the theater became a vibrant cultural hub, drawing audiences eager for thoughtful, spirited performances. Jean Stapleton was not merely an occasional visitor to this world. She was an active participant. Despite her growing fame on television, she returned regularly to Totem Playhouse, performing with the resident company and reaffirming her lifelong commitment to the stage. For Stapleton, theater was not just a profession, but a calling, and the Playhouse represented a shared dream she and her husband nurtured year after year. The depth of Stapleton's dedication to both her husband and her art was never more evident than on the night tragedy struck. In 1983, William Putch suffered a fatal heart attack while in Syracuse during the run of a touring production. The news was devastating, a loss that could have understandably silenced her, even temporarily. Yet, in a moment that has since become a symbol of her extraordinary professionalism and inner strength, Stapleton made an astonishing decision. Despite her grief, she insisted on going on stage and performing that very night. It was not an act of denial, but of devotion to the audience, to the theater they had both loved so deeply, and perhaps to her husband himself. For decades, Jean Stapleton was inseparable in the public imagination from Edith Bunker, the tender-hearted, soft-spoken wife she portrayed on All in the Family. Her chemistry with Carroll O'Connor was so natural, so deeply felt that many viewers assumed their bond extended seamlessly off-screen. Yet, in her final interviews, Stapleton gently but clearly revealed a more complex truth. While she respected O'Connor deeply as an artist, their relationship was rooted in professionalism rather than deep personal friendship. "I loved working with Carroll," Stapleton once said. "But people often mistake great acting for a great personal friendship." Her words were not dismissive, nor were they cold. Instead, they reflected the thoughtful clarity of a woman who understood the difference between shared creative purpose and private emotional closeness. Stapleton explained that the intensity of All in the Family, its political arguments, its emotional confrontations, its cultural weight required discipline and boundaries. She admired O'Connor's dedication, his seriousness, and his command of the material, but she never pretended that their bond resembled the warm, familial connection audiences longed to believe in. Stapleton's final reflections confirmed what many industry insiders had quietly understood for years. The magic between Edith and Archie Bunker was the result of two complete professionals honoring the work above all else. "What you saw on screen," she said, "was our commitment to telling the truth of those characters." That truth, she implied, did not require off-camera closeness, only mutual respect and trust. When Carroll O'Connor passed away in 2001, the absence of Jean Stapleton at his funeral surprised fans and fueled speculation. To many, it seemed unthinkable that Edith Bunker would not be there to say goodbye to Archie. Yet Stapleton later addressed this decision with her characteristic grace and honesty, offering insight that was both deeply personal and quietly revealing. "I grieved in my own way," she explained. "I didn't feel the need to do it publicly." Stapleton had always been intensely private, especially later in life, stepping back from Hollywood attention and choosing a quieter existence far from the spotlight. For her, mourning was not a performance, nor was it an obligation dictated by public expectation. She believed remembrance could be just as meaningful, perhaps more so, when done in solitude. Stapleton also acknowledged that attending the funeral would have inevitably turned the moment into a symbolic reunion of Archie and Edith, overshadowing O'Connor's life as a man, husband, and father. "That day wasn't about the characters," she said. "It was about Carroll." In stepping away, she felt she was honoring him more honestly, refusing to let fiction eclipse reality. Her absence, rather than signaling indifference, underscored a profound respect for boundaries between art and life, between public myth and private truth. Stapleton understood that sometimes the most sincere farewell is the one given quietly away from cameras and expectations. Jean Stapleton's final interview did not tear down the legacy of All in the Family. Instead, it enriched it by speaking plainly. She reminded audiences that great art does not require personal entanglement, only integrity, empathy, and discipline. "We did our jobs," she said simply, "and we did them well." In an industry fueled by illusion, Stapleton's honesty was a final gift. She allowed fans to see her not as Edith Bunker, but as a thoughtful woman who valued privacy, truth, and emotional authenticity. And in doing so, she confirmed what many had long suspected, that behind one of television's most beloved marriages stood two actors bound not by sentimentality, but by respect, and that perhaps was the secret to its enduring power. Stapleton passed away quietly of natural causes on May 31, 2013 in New York City, the place that had so long served as both her home and the spiritual center of her artistic life. She was 90 years old, and with her passing, the entertainment world lost not just a beloved actress, but a woman whose talent, warmth, and integrity had shaped generations of audiences. In a rare and deeply symbolic gesture of respect, Broadway dimmed its marquee lights for 1 full minute on June 5, 2013. A solemn pause that spoke volumes about the profound impact she had made on American theater and culture. Those glowing lights which had so often celebrated opening nights and standing ovations fell silent in tribute to a performer whose career bridged stage and screen with grace and purpose.